Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to today's college fair. First things first, thank you to our sponsors, the Princeton Review Philippines, AUG Student Services, LIMS Review Center, Study International Philippines, AIM Review Philippines, ICLA at Yamanashi Gaokin University, Queen's University, and Syracuse University. Now I'm happy to introduce today's speaker, Anna, representing NYU Shanghai. They will be here with us for about an hour to present about academics, student life, and more in their university. After the presentation, they can also any questions you might have for them. So please put that in the Q&A box. To our attendees, if you have any questions at any point during the talk, please feel free to send them through the Q&A feature. I will also link an interest form in the chat if you want your contact details to be forwarded to NYU Shanghai. So just scroll down the appropriate day and you should see their name and a link to the form. So to our speaker at the end of the session, please feel free to scroll through the questions in the Q&A and answer those you wish to. I will be recording this session. So without further ado, here is Anna.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Anna. Let me do a quick screen share over here. So welcome, everyone. I am with NYU Shanghai. We are part of New York University, and I'm really excited to be here chatting with all of you today. I've been with New York University for more than 8 years now, and the majority of those years were with NYU Shanghai. I'm originally from New York myself and used to work at the New York campus. But then I really fell in love with Shanghai, the city. So when I moved here, it was really hard for me to leave. So hopefully you'll feel the same. We have a really big Filipino population, comparatively big on our campus. I'll talk about what our campus community is like, but you definitely are able to connect with other Filipino students on campus, but also within Shanghai, the city. Of course, before COVID, traveling between the two places, China and Philippines, is quite easy. I used to recruit in the Philippines every single year, which was really exciting for me. But since COVID, of course, that stopped. But travel is resuming again this year. So hopefully I'll be able to meet some of you at your high schools, not too far in the future. Anyway, let me get started with the presentation. I do want to point out there is a QR code on the side. I know you also have a sign up form on your own, but if you prefer to just sign up and join our NYU mailing list directly, you can scan that QR code and join our mailing list. So this mailing list is for New York University. So whether you're interested in New York, Abu Dhabi, or Shanghai, feel free to fill this out, and I'll talk about what that means as I go through the presentation. If you have questions at any point, just shoot it in the Q&A or the chat box. I'm more than happy to answer it. We have a manageable group today, so I can definitely get through all of your questions. Alrighty, so we like to say, no matter where you are, you're at NYU. So what does that mean? So for a lot of you, you've probably heard of NYU New York, which is completely normal. NYU New York, they are our biggest campus. They are our oldest campus. And, they've been around since the 1980s. But NYU actually has a mission of being, the top global university to really offer this experience that's not just tied to the one location where you're going to school, but, really giving you a worldlier experience. So that's because that's what's needed nowadays. So you will see that they actually have 15 different locations total around the world. 12 of those are study away sites where you can go study away for one semester, but 3 of those are actually full campuses. So what that means is you can go to any of these 3 locations and get a bachelor's degree. So you could get a full diploma by studying 4 years at any of these locations. So those are New York, Abu Dhabi, and Shanghai. So all 3 of them, I'm sure as I list them, you're thinking like, how is that possible? How can I go to Abu Dhabi, get a NYU degree? How can I go to Shanghai, get an NYU degree? So it's actually completely possible, and you get the same exact diploma at every single location. So you get the New York University degree, that is your US diploma. They're all taught in English. So no matter which location you go to, your classes are in English, and classes are going to be rigorous regardless of which location you attend. For Shanghai, there is a language component in terms of you have to take Mandarin, but you don't need to know any before coming in. I'll talk a little bit more about what that means, but rest assured that all your classes are in English. So if you don't know any Chinese, that's fine. And your major that you choose at all of these three locations, they're entirely up to what you want to study. So they all follow the liberal arts and sciences approach, which is very much the staple in a lot of US institutions. So I'll go into what that looks like too. But now if you want a US diploma, you don't have to just get it in the United States. You are very much able to get it in other locations like NYU Shanghai. So here's a little preview of NYU Shanghai and what some of these statistics are of our student body. So if you've never been to China before, it's completely okay. We actually have the majority of our students coming to China for the very, very first time when they join our school. So we know that it can sound really scary. We know that it's not easy move or not something that high school students are thinking about really. It's easy to think about the US, UK, Australia when all of your classmates are also considering them, but to think about China when you're probably the only student in your school considering this option, it can seem a little scary. But don't worry, you're not alone. Shanghai is a really awesome city. This picture in the back is exactly what one part of Shanghai looks like. It's pretty crazy how futuristic and cool and technologically advanced that city is. And to be a student and live here for 4 years, you have a lot of kind of experiences and benefits that students typically don't get if they go to another university. But in our student body, we have about 1,600 students. Half of that, they're Chinese students coming from all over China. And then the other half, they're international students coming from over 70 different countries. So it's super international. We call it the mini model UN. So you really are interacting not just with your student, not just with the Chinese students that we're meeting every day, but you're also interacting with students from all over the world here on our small campus. And I say small because 1,600 is pretty small for a university. But there are a lot of great benefits when it comes to that too. When you do have a smaller school, you have better access to professors. You really get to know your student body. There's a lot of space for you to grow and be part of our community. So, if the transition to China is one that looks a little scary to you, having a smaller student body also makes it feel a bit more homey once you get here too. So, we have a lot of things in place, like I mentioned, to help you get acclimated when you first begin. So we do have orientation, which starts right at the beginning of the semester, or even before the school year begins in August. And this is where there will be a lot of activities planned to get you acclimated culturally to the new city that you live in. So you'll do things like learn the metro system, get your own phone, SIM card, open a China bank account, learn the ropes of what it's like to actually live in Shanghai and live in China. You will have a really, really helpful roommate. So every international student is paired with a non-Chinese roommate. Every international student is paired with a Chinese roommate. And this Chinese roommate can, of course, help with any language issues there might be in the beginning. All students will eventually be required to take Chinese. So if you don't take any, your roommate will be really helpful. But then you'll also begin to learn some on your own to where you're self-sufficient and you're able to navigate things. But your roommate is always there to help in the beginning with that transition. Excuse me. So, we really encourage students to find their community, and that can look in different ways depending on who you are, and also throughout your 4 years. Shanghai is one awesome city. There's so much going on, but it's not too overwhelming either. We have a really great location for our campus where um, you can obviously take part in a lot of on-campus activities like clubs, athletics, student government, leadership roles across many different interest areas. So obviously this will help you feel like you're part of the community and feel like, you're involved and kind of finding your own niche within NYU Shanghai, which is great. I think these are some easy ways that students get involved, probably similar to how you do now in high school. But then Shanghai also has a lot going on within the city. So, if you're interested in different sports, or, if you're interested in literature, there are all these different organizations that you can find in Shanghai as well. And this kind of opens you up to not just NYU Shanghai, but, living and being someone who lives in Shanghai and interacting with the community that's there. So I think that's something that our students really like. Not only do they have an NYU Shanghai community, but they also have a Shanghai community. And that has opened a lot of doors for our students, because when you're, taking part, let's say you're in a soccer team for Shanghai, the city, you meet all these people who are in their 20s, 30s, maybe 40s, who are at different parts in their lives. And, they don't care that you're a college student. If you want to join their team, you're more than welcome to join the team. And through that, you network, and maybe doors will open for internship opportunities for you, or job opportunities. And that's happened before with our students, just because they've really integrated themselves, not just into NYU Shanghai, but also Shanghai, the city. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the position for those of you who have never been to China, or to Shanghai, rather. So this is just a loose map. So our current campus is right over here. So we are in the financial district of Shanghai, and location is so, so important. You're not coming all the way to China to go to a school where you're not going to have access to, top things. You're in China likely because you want to be in this forward thinking, forward moving city. And, the reputation that China has of being in the forefront of so many industries. And that's happening right here in Shanghai. And that's important because, of course, you want that experience. You want to be around the people who are working in these industries. So we have a great location right now. We're in our current campus. That's right, very close to Century Park. Right now we have the building that's behind me, our vertical campus, which is 15 floors high. And we're actually going to be in this campus until the end of the year. And then we're moving down to this location, Tiantan. And it's actually opening. It shouldn't say fall 2022, but we're opening in winter 2022. So after one semester at our current campus, we will move into an entirely new campus. And I'll show you some really exciting pictures in the next slide, but the location is awesome. So Shanghai, the city, basically decided, we have our first financial district, which is great, but it's not perfect. It's not everything that we want it to be. So we're going to create a financial district 2.0 further down the river. And this is going to be a location that still has all those multinational companies, but is also residential, is also commercial. They wanted to create a hub that wasn't just work, 9 to 5, but they wanted it to be alive at any time of day. So that's where we're going to be. And there are already a lot of international companies there, a lot of international malls, hotels. We're going to be in a really prime location that has already started to build and will continue to build. So I'll talk a little bit about our campus in the next slide, but I do want to mention how one usually navigates the city. So as a student, you have access to the entire city super, super easy, just with a tap of your phone. So we have a metro system that is entirely safe and goes to literally every corner of the city. So you're able to take a metro, the signs and announcements are in Mandarin and in English. It's really easy to navigate, very clean, incredibly safe. And that can get you from, campus to your internship, to hanging out with friends, to maybe have a book club meeting or a sports practice somewhere in the city. So, that's how I get around every single day. Super convenient. You do not need to drive, although if you want to, there are always, Uber equivalents available. So car hailing apps available for you that are pretty inexpensive if you're sharing it with friends. You can walk, you can ride a bicycle. So there are a lot of different ways to move around Shanghai. So I think as a student, that's a huge advantage to you because you also want to maximize on what you can do. And a lot of it has to do with transportation. All righty. So hopefully that answers the question about public transportation that came in. I saw the other question about work in Shanghai. I'll talk about that one when I talk about the work opportunities, but feel free to keep the questions coming in. Also along the lines of just public transport. So it's incredibly safe, super easy. Your students love it, but also the city is very safe too. I'm from New York myself, and coming to Shanghai, I've never been to a safer city. And you can ask any of our students this question. It's a city where, you as a female, if you're by yourself at 2 a.m, like you won't be worried. Like I've been by myself, 3 a.m, and I'm not worried at all. And there's definitely a very, very high level of safety in the city of Shanghai. Of course, it is a city, so you do have to worry about petty theft. If you have your laptop just sitting somewhere or your phone hanging out of your bag, maybe not the smartest thing to do because we are still a city. But in terms of like violent crimes or anything like that, I've really never encountered any of this. And I've lived there for almost 6 years now. And I really do feel like, especially if you're a parent tuning in, that's something really important to know. Shanghai is incredibly safe. And also on our campus in the dormitories, we have 24/7 public safety. All righty. So I won't delay it anymore, but here are some photos of our new campus. So we're super excited about this campus because not only is it a new campus, but we were able to build it entirely from the ground up. So, everything that we want in a dream campus, we took student input, faculty input, staff input, leadership's input, and we put it into this campus, and we're about to open it in a few months. So it's really exciting. So if you're a student who's a high school senior or will be a high school senior, you're actually going to be joining us in this new campus, and you'll be the first class to be able to spend the full year in this campus. So that's a really, really exciting feature. But you can see we have, all the staples of what makes a campus a great place, a really cool hangout area. And the design of this campus is very similar to the design of NYU Shanghai, where we are, a dual identity. We're a US school, but also a Chinese school. So you'll find little details of that in our university, in our new campus. So we're really excited about it. And yeah, as we get more photos and videos that are created, make sure to follow our website to track the progress and what your new space will look like. A common question I get is about dormitories. So dormitories, yes, all students will be guaranteed housing all 4 years. It is required for the first 2 years. So in your first year, you will definitely be on campus housing. You'll have, like I said, the Chinese roommate that you'll be paired with for your first year. But the dormitories are not attached to our campus, but they're also not very far either. The new dormitories will be about a 20-minute walk. There will also be a shuttle bus that goes back and forth, which will only take like 3 minutes. It's on the same street, so if you want to bike it, if you want to walk it, if you want to take the bus, it's entirely up to you. But they're also new buildings too, so you guys will be the first ones to occupy them for the full year. So we're really excited about that. They're apartment styles, so not like your typical dorms where, you know, they're a little dated, maybe a little smaller. Instead, these are actually apartment styles. So depending on which format you get placed in, you'll be maybe in a studio or maybe in a suite where you're shared with a few rooms, but every single one of these spaces will have a little, will have a kitchen, a living space. You know, you're not going to have a shared bathroom in the middle of the hallway. You get your own, you know, private bathroom in your apartment space. So it kind of makes you feel a bit more adult and like you're moving into your own space. But don't worry, because there's still dormitories. There will be resident assistants and other, you know, students, of course, living there with you. But the resident assistants will definitely provide leadership and, you know, guidance if anything ever comes up, especially in case of emergencies. All righty, so let's hop into the academic side. I know I went on about the social side a little bit over there, but you're probably wondering, you know, what does it look like in the classroom at NYU Shanghai? So like I mentioned, we have a liberal arts education. So this is the same regardless of which NYU campus you go to. You could be in New York, Abu Dhabi, Shanghai. The root of it is in liberal arts. So what that means is, you know, you're in high school right now, right? And sometimes it can be really hard to know what you want to do for the rest of your life. You know, you might not want to commit to an area of study yet because you feel like you haven't really explored fully, or you don't really even know what that means yet. Maybe you've only taken 1 or 2 or 3 classes in it, but you haven't really dived deep enough to know, like, this is what I want to do. And that's completely okay. And I think that's why liberal arts exists. So liberal arts is an approach where you get to explore and take different courses first before you have to decide on your major. Um, you know, with the way that this looks at NYU, we have our core curriculum. So our core curriculum, you'll see there are 7 categories, and students have to complete at least 1 class in each category by the time they graduate. And a lot of students decide to pursue the core curriculum in their first year or second year as a way to explore and take different classes, because you'll see the categories span across many different topics. So it kind of forces you to, you know, take courses that you've never heard of or explore areas that you've never really had the opportunity to before. You know, I always think high school, you know, you're only offered the classes that you're offered, but when you go to university, you're going to look at the academic bulletin and all the course offerings, and there will be so much more. You know, the variety is just insane, and there will be things that you've never even heard of that what might interest you. So that's why we have the core curriculum. Not only that, but everything's interconnected. You know, nothing really stands alone as its own discipline. You know, while you're studying philosophy, that's still connected to things in the sciences, things in history. So we definitely want students to understand how what they eventually choose as a major will be interconnected with all the other topics that are out there. So, you know, we have our core curriculum. Like I said, these are categories. So under each of these options, there are many, many different course offerings that you can choose from. And you can choose ones that interest you. You'll never be limited to just one class to choose from. Instead, you'll have many different topics that within each of these categories that you can select. We have a 7-to-1 student faculty ratio, which is awesome. So in your classes, it will be you on average and maybe 7 other students. It's not uncommon to even be in a class with you and maybe the professor and 2 other students. So I've heard that before, where it's a professor and 3 students. Don't let that scare you. That's actually a really, really big asset. In all of your classes at NYU Shanghai, they're going to be small, and you're going to know the professor, which is really beneficial. Professors have been super helpful in helping our students get internships, kind of learn about a field a little bit more. They've been mentors to our students. They provide recommendation letters. You get to know the professors, but on a first name basis. You're not just, part of the attendance sheet. They actually know who you are. So that's something that's really important. I think with the smaller school, you definitely get that direct access to professors and everything that comes with it. So regardless of whether or not you know what you want to study, these are the majors that are offered at NYU Shanghai. So all students come in as undecided. So whether or not you already have an idea, that's completely okay. Some students, they continue to keep that major even after exploring. Some students decide to change. Some students come in really, truly having no idea, and then using the core curriculum and conversations with their classmates and professors to figure it out. But in the end, you will choose your major, and you have to do this by the end of your second year. So it does give you a lot of time. And don't worry, once you choose it, you can always change it if you like. You can also double major if you want. You can choose minors, really any combination that suits you and what it is that you want to study. So take a look at the list here. I will say, don't let the name of the major kind of determine, whether or not NYU Shanghai is a place for you right away, because there are some majors here that have concentrations as well. So for example, social science is a very popular major at NYU Shanghai, and students who pursue social science might have a concentration of political science, psychology, sociology, so on. So there are different tracks within some of these majors. Same with humanities. Students who study humanities might have a concentration of creative writing, of literature, and so on. So don't let these limit you, but just give you an idea of what it is we have at NYU Shanghai. I will say different NYU campuses have different majors. So if you do want to look at what NYU New York offers or NYU Abu Dhabi, make sure to look at their website to find out what it is that they offer. New York is our largest campus and our oldest campus, so they will have the most amount of majors. They have over 230. Abu Dhabi's list is about the same size or similar size as ours, because we're both meant to be smaller campuses. It doesn't mean that one is better than the other. It just means, our setup is different. So look to see which one best suits you. Alrighty. So this is something that is definitely unique to our campus. So the Mandarin piece of it. So I already said in the beginning, all of our classes are taught in English at New York, Abu Dhabi, and Shanghai, and that continues to be true. You're not going to be taking your class, in psychology, or your interactive media and business class, or your, data science class in Mandarin. That will all be in English. But you are in China, which means we want you to take advantage of that and use that as a leverage in your future. So all students at NYU Shanghai, they have to take Mandarin, Chinese, up to a certain level. So this is the language course that is going to be added to your schedule. If you are a student who already speaks some Mandarin, maybe you take it now in high school, great, no problem. If you've never taken any Mandarin, you don't even know one word, great, no problem. If you're somehow super fluent, maybe you're a heritage student, you speak it at home, great, no problem. Any starting point you have is completely okay at NYU Shanghai. For students who start from the very, very beginning, which is actually the majority of our international students, you'll be required to take 2 years of Mandarin, so 4 semesters. You'll do beginner 1, beginner 2, intermediate 1, intermediate 2. And then that's all you have to do. But if you want to keep going to advanced and post-advanced to really reach fluency, obviously, we recommend that. So, with Mandarin, 2 years might not sound like a lot, but actually students who take Mandarin learn it very, very fast when they're in Shanghai. In 2 years, we've had students who started from nothing to being able to do internships at Chinese companies. So you're able to improve so quickly because you're actually immersed in it every single day. You're not just learning it in the classroom and then forgetting about it when you leave, but you're learning it in the classroom and then you're bringing it outside with you to use when you're walking around Shanghai or talking to your roommate or ordering food. So there's just so many ways to immerse yourself and interact with the language, whether it's reading, writing, speaking, listening, and so on. So, that's something that, as you're thinking about your future, regardless of what industry you're in, just knowing Mandarin Chinese and knowing how to operate in Chinese business culture, or even if you're joining tech companies or the health field, just knowing how to navigate, I think, with Chinese culture is something that's going to be very, very important for you, regardless of what field you're in. So with a lot of our students, I usually ask them what their favorite class is, and a lot of them say Mandarin. It's a lot of hard work, but the Chinese language department is excellent in really helping you, get used to the language and be familiar and have fun while learning it. If you're a student who's coming in with some ability already, you will do a placement exam, and they'll place you according to the level from that online test. So let's say you place into intermediate 1, then great, you'll take intermediate 1, intermediate 2, and then be done, or you just keep going, but the number of required classes will just be less. If you place beyond intermediate 2, then you're exempt from taking any, but if you want to take some classes, you can take some. You will never run out of language classes to take. The levels go very, very high. Alrighty. So the last thing I want to mention with academics is study away. So, I keep talking about this global network that NYU has. And actually, here's a perfect timing for a question that just came in. So NYU has 15 locations total, and you'll see them all on this map. I've talked about New York and Abu Dhabi, and of course, Shanghai quite a bit so far. So these are the 3 campuses where you can go study and get a degree. But NYU also has 12 other locations where you're able to go for a semester. So there's still NYU locations, NYU professors, classes, students that are studying there, but they're not a full campus where you can go for 4 years. Instead, you can go for 1 semester and study away there. So NYU requires students to go study away for at least 1 semester and at most 2 semesters. So you are an NYU Shanghai student, but you're actually going to, at the end of your 4 years, maybe you studied at 2 or 3 different parts of the world through NYU, which is pretty awesome. So NYU Shanghai requires students to study away for at least 1 semester and at most 2. If you attend NYU New York or NYU Abu Dhabi, the requirement might be a little different. There might not be a requirement, or it might be a different amount of time. But for Shanghai, it is definitely 1 semester at least and at most 2. So during this time, you can go to any of these locations on the map. So you can do 1 semester at NYU New York. You could do 1 semester then at NYU London, and then come back to Shanghai and finish your senior year. Usually people study away during their junior year, so their 3rd year. And there's an application process. There's an orientation to help you get started. We help you with a visa to go to that city and country to study. But obviously, it's a really great opportunity because not only Are you, studying in China, but then you also get this other opportunity to study in a different part of the world and really immerse yourself in there with the NYU support network. Okay. So hopefully that answers your question. So for people who ask, like, can I study at both New York and Abu Dhabi as well? The answer is yes, it's going to be through study away. So you can do one semester at NYU New York and then one semester at NYU Abu Dhabi, and then come back to NYU Shanghai. There are some students who have actually had the opportunity to study away at quite a number of sites because of COVID. We were a bit more flexible with this policy. I know a student who studied away now at like 4 or 5 different NYU locations. So she's trying to, hit a record with having been to the most number of NYU global sites. Alrighty. So, as you're thinking about where you want to go to school and, what this might mean for your 4 years, there's obviously going to be a lot to think about, right? When it comes to choosing a school like ours, it's not, like I said in the beginning, it's not a common pick. I think a lot of people who are considering China coming from the Philippines, you're probably going to be alone in your decision. Your family might think you're a little crazy. Your classmates will definitely think you're crazy. But there are a lot of great benefits to it too. You get a US diploma with us. You get the New York University diploma. That's the same at New York and Abu Dhabi, but you also get a Chinese diploma. The Chinese diploma is super important if you ever want to work in China after graduation. There are some government policies that allow you to continue to work in China after you graduate, which we have a number of students do every single year. I know this year we had a Singaporean student, Sam, and a Thai student, Ploy, who graduated in May, and now they're working at ByteDance, which is, the owner of TikTok, and they're working in Shanghai, and they're able to do that because they graduated from NYU Shanghai. You learn, you have the support of our Career Development Center. So that is an office that's available to you, not just your senior year, but from the very beginning when you're a first-year student. They'll help you polish your resume, build your resume, kind of learn about all the different career paths, make sure you're doing internships and gaining the skills that you need. So then when you are a senior, you are a really great candidate for jobs or positions or grad school programs, whatever it is you want to do. In your senior year, though, you will do a capstone, and this is going to be a research project you do with a faculty member. And this is something that really pulls together everything you've learned, and you can choose it in an area that you're super passionate about. So if you are applying to grad schools, PhD programs, this is something that can obviously supplement your application because it is pretty high level research that you're doing that you're able to, include in whatever field it is you might want to go into. And then we have our alumni network. So our alumni network is not just NYU Shanghai, but it is all NYU. So once you are our student, you are part of New York University. There's no distinguishment of like, oh, NYU Shanghai or NYU Abu Dhabi. Once you're NYU, you're NYU. And you'll see this in so many different ways. We have our alumni network. We also have our executive mentorship program, which are NYU alums who are based in the Asia Pacific region, who connect with our students. These are people who are very, very successful in their field, and they provide mentorship to our students. So there are a lot of ways that you can take advantage of this. Let's see. I'm just scrolling through some of the questions. So I just answered that first one that came in about, can you work in Shanghai easily with an American diploma? Yes, you are able to do that, but with the Chinese diploma. Not that you can't with the American diploma. It's just that China as a country, they have a policy where you can only work in China if you've graduated from a Chinese university right after graduation. Otherwise, they require 2 years of work experience. But when we had our first graduating class, of course, we had many students who wanted to stay in China and work, and they were able to do this. And they were able to work with the government, and the government created this new policy that allowed them to be able to work immediately after graduation if they graduated from a Chinese university. So yes, you definitely can. Alrighty, so a lot of the questions that I have are also related to how to apply. So hopefully this will help answer some of the questions that came in. So, now that you know about New York University, especially the Shanghai campus, and a little bit about the other two, maybe you're thinking about our application and how to get started. So we have one application for New York University, and you can apply to all 3 campuses when you're filling out our application. So I'll talk about what that looks like. So we are on the Common app. So if you're interested in New York University, regardless of which campus, go to the Common app and search New York University. After that, you'll see when you enter the New York University questions that the very, very first question we ask you is, which campuses are you interested in? So you can list 1, 2, or all 3 on your application. If you're interested in Shanghai and New York because you love, big metropolitan cities, great. If you want Shanghai and Abu Dhabi because you like the smaller campus feel, great. If you want all 3 because you just can't decide, no problem. But make sure if you're listing more than 1 that you rank them. So what is your first choice? What is your second choice? What is your third choice? So this is incredibly important because NYU, we will take this into consideration when we are admitting you to a campus and reviewing your application. So when it comes to your decision in the end, you're only going to get 1 admission at the end. So if you are admitted, it's only to 1 campus. And, we try our best to admit you to the one that you listed first. But there are other deciding factors that go into that. As we review your application, we want to assess your fit to that university too. We want to see how you ranked the different campuses, why it is that you want to go to them. So just make sure that if you're putting a campus on your application, that you fully intend to actually go there if you're admitted, because you're only admitted to 1 and that decision is final. So in the end, if you are admitted to Shanghai, make sure that you've actually done your research to know, okay, NYU Shanghai is actually a place I want to be. If you don't want to go to that campus, do not list it on your application. That's basically the short story of this. So if you want to attend, great. If not, leave it off. It does not hurt your application at all. So we have different deadlines of early decision and regular decision. You can see what those are over here. If any of you have more questions about what that means, feel free to shoot me an email. I'm more than happy to go into more details about it, but I do want to talk about the different application components. So with New York University, we assess 2 main areas. So we look at your academics and we also look at your personal side. So, our classrooms are going to be quite rigorous. Can the student handle the coursework that NYU offers? For the personal side, why is it that the student wants to join NYU, Shanghai, or New York, or Abu Dhabi? What is it that they're going to contribute to our community? So these are questions that I think about when I'm reading your applications. And there are different ways for me to find out. With academics, I will look at your transcript, your testing. For personal, I'm going to look at the areas that are listed below. But I just want to highlight a few of them. So for academics, we do look at your transcript across high school. So make sure when you're applying to NYU that you are submitting your high school transcripts through your counselors. We don't necessarily look just at GPA. Actually, to be honest, we don't really look at GPA at all because people are applying from all different countries in the world. They're all on different academic scales. Instead, we look at the details. We look at the classes that you're taking. We look to see how you've been doing in those classes across, ninth grade, 10th grade, 11th grade? What classes do you have now on your schedule for 12th grade? How rigorous is it? How have you challenged yourselves throughout the 4 years? So, we look more at the details and not just the overall number of what you received. Standardized testing is something that, because of COVID, has adjusted, and the same will apply this year to seniors who are applying for fall 2023. So if in the past, NYU had the most flexible standardized testing policy, and the still same remains true. But because of COVID, we are offering the ability for students to not submit testing. So if you do not have the opportunity to take SAT or ACT, it's completely okay. You can submit your application without this. If you are taking the SAT or ACT and you are able to get a score, then it is up to you to decide whether or not you want to send it to NYU to be considered with your application. You do not need to. I usually advise students look at our average SAT scores, or the middle 50%. We publish it on our website, and see how your score compares to that. If you are, on the higher end of what we've admitted in the past, then maybe it makes sense to send it in, because you can already see that you're quite competitive with the students that we've admitted. If you're on the lower side, then maybe reconsider sending it to us, because if it's on the lower end of the pool that we've admitted in the past, or completely outside of that range, then maybe it's not going to do too much in order to prove, your academic readiness, and maybe your transcript will speak better on your behalf with that area. So the decision is yours. Just because you have a score this year doesn't mean you have to send it. But take those thoughts into consideration. Every time I recruit in the Philippines, it is common for me to meet students who are doing IB or A levels. So if you are doing IB, no problem at all. We love IB students. Just apply with your 3 standard level, 3 higher levels. When you're applying with your IB scores or your A levels, you'll apply first with your predicted scores, because obviously you won't have the final ones yet. So your counselor will work with your teachers to come up with a grade of 1 to 7 that you're anticipated to get. And then eventually, when you take your finals, your final IB or A levels, you'll have your official results, and you'll send those to us. But we will be admitting you first based on your predictions, but we still need your high school transcripts. And if you're doing IB or A level, you do not need to do testing either. You do not need to submit SAT or ACT. You can submit your predicted IBs or your predicted A level scores as your form of standardized testing. So, if you're doing IB or A level, no need to do SAT or ACT. If you're doing it, same thing as the other students, it's up to you to decide whether or not you want to send it. But because you have the IB and A level, you can always use those as your standardized testing type, because we accept predictions for IB and A levels. English language testing for the Philippines, I think it's quite straightforward for most of our students. With NYU, we have a policy where if you're past 3 full years of high school were in English, or if your native language or your first language is English, you do not need to submit English language testing. So that should mean for the majority of you, you do not need to take English language testing. If you fall outside of this, if your classes were maybe in a mixed curriculum in, let's say, Tagalog and English the past 3 years, and your native language is not English, then you'll have to take it. But I think for the majority of you, your schooling or your native language was in English, so you're exempt from English language testing. The last component that I want, or the only component I want to talk about under personal, is the essay. So we have the NYU essay, which is the essay that NYU uses to assess why is it that you're applying to us? Without this essay, I always tell students, I have no idea why you're interested. So this is an essay where it's my favorite part to read. It tells me why you apply to Shanghai, what is it about our program that interests you? Have you done your research to show that you actually understand what it means to study with us? And I think a lot of students, they rush through this essay. So make sure as you're working on your application that you also take time to work on this essay along with your Common App one. Alrighty, so we're coming to the end here. I know some people also asked about financial aid. So yes, financial aid is available to all applicants regardless of your citizenship. When it comes to New York University, each campus, New York, Abu Dhabi, and Shanghai, we have a different financial aid model for each one. But the bottom kind of common ground for all campuses is that we mostly give need-based aid. So students who need it most will have larger packages, and that's all going to be assessed using documents that you submit to our Office of Financial Support. So, while the price tag in the beginning may look very large, keep in mind we are incredibly generous with financial aid at NYU. We've actually been remodeling our financial aid in recent years, these past 2 years, to make it even more generous to our students that we admit. So keep that in mind. The financial aid deadlines are different from application deadlines. So, make sure you check on what those are. If you're applying early decision, it's usually like 15 days after the application deadline. So it does come up very, very quickly. So make sure to submit all your documents by then because they are incredibly strict. Once you miss the deadline, you won't get anything. So if you want something, make sure to just submit your financial aid documents to our team. Alrighty, so that brings me to the end of our time together. I am going to just quickly run through the questions that we have left here. And if anything else comes up, feel free to type it in the Q&A box if we have time, or just shoot me an email. We also have current students. These are our second, third, or fourth year students, international students. We have one from the Philippines, Brent DeLeon, who's happy to talk to all of you. So if you want to hear more from a student perspective, whether it's, a Filipino student or a student studying a certain major or coming from a certain part of the world, feel free to go to that first link and request to have a Zoom chat or email conversation with a current student. You can always email me as well. I've been recruiting in the Philippines now for almost 6 years. So I probably know a lot of your counselors and a lot of the schools that you're coming from. And, I talk to our Filipino students and professors on campus a lot. So I can, I don't mind setting up a conversation with you. We also have all of our Instagram, Twitter, social media accounts at NYU Shanghai. Starting in August, every single Thursday, we'll do a takeover with our current students. So you can get a better glimpse of what campus life is like, what life in Shanghai is like, what life is like in our academic building, and especially once classes begin. So feel free to take a look. And then if you scan the QR code, you'll join our mailing list where you'll get more information about our fall events happening very, very soon. Alrighty, so I have a few more minutes. Let me answer some of the questions that are here. Let's see. First one, can you start your own club on campus? Yes, most definitely. We have a really great student life team. While we do have a lot of clubs that are already in existence, if there is demand and interest in a certain club, you can always go through the motions to get it set up. There is a process in place where you can do that. Let's see. Are there maximum amounts of majors, minors that you can take? No maximum. Obviously you don't want to overdo yourself. Usually I see students do be like double major. Double major is pretty common, or double major and a minor, or one major, one minor. I would say that combination is pretty common. to do more than that. I think I met one student who was a double major and double minor. That's probably the most that I've seen. There is no limit, but of course, the more that you choose to take on, the more requirements are going to be part of your graduation to fulfill. But if you really can't decide, don't worry, you are able to, take the time, explore the different areas of interest a bit more before you have to settle on one. Okay. Are there co-op programs where we can work with businesses? So there are going to be a number of courses where you will do project work for companies. So, in our business class, they'll do a consulting project for different companies in Shanghai. That's, not out of the ordinary. We also have a course called Project on Creativity and Innovation, where they are a bit more focused on startups. So they'll work with different startups in Shanghai to kind of help get their projects off the ground. So depending on the classes that you're in, they're definitely integrated within, the city of Shanghai and the different businesses that can be found there, which, is a lot. We have all the multinational ones, startups across all industries. All righty. Let's see how many students are currently studying. So we have about 1,600 students right now. The most will ever be is 2,000. NYU, Shanghai, and Abu Dhabi are both meant to be smaller universities. The teachers that we have are also mixed like our students, so they're not mostly Chinese. NYU, they hire professors the same way, whether they're hiring for New York, Abu Dhabi, or Shanghai. So you're going to see that the quality in our classroom is going to remain high, regardless of where you go. Every year we have 200-300 New York and Abu Dhabi students come to Shanghai to study away too. So we have to make sure that we're keeping everything consistent across NYU's global network. So in Shanghai, our professors are mixed, maybe a third Chinese, a third international, a third US. Roughly, I would say would be the breakdown, but the way that in which they're hired is the same as any NYU professor. Yeah, this last question over here is about the Filipino community in Shanghai. So there is definitely a strong Filipino community. You'll find that, there are, of course, the Filipino restaurants that a lot of the people who miss home will go to. But I would say one of the biggest reasons why students are going to our school is because they realize how important it is to be with students from different countries. So while there is a strong Filipino community, you're still talking to students from all different areas. It's not completely isolated where, the Filipino students would only hang out with the Filipino students or, for the different identity groups that you have. Instead, students really do really integrate with each other. And if you do miss your Filipino roots, you can always find the Filipino community that's happening in Shanghai. I always see pop-ups, especially food-related ones at different fairs and restaurants in the city that brings together the Filipino community. So it's a very strong one. Once you come here, talk to our students, you'll definitely learn more about it and be integrated in it. Very, very welcoming. I think that's one thing that I've really enjoyed about Shanghai and what's kept me here for 6 years now. It's a really easy city to live in, whether you're a student or a working professional like myself. So that brings us to the end of our time together. Hopefully you were able to take away something new from this presentation, but thank you so much everyone for hanging on for the hour and sending in your questions.
Thank you, Anna. Yes, sorry, got the name wrong. Amelia is our next presenter. But yes, I'm sure I can speak for everyone here. Shanghai looks really solid. Makes me want to go, honestly. I've never been, but yeah, it looks like an amazing city and an amazing school. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you. And thank you, Cam, for hosting this event.
To all our attendees, stay on call because our next presenter is actually already here. Amelia. Yes. Hi.
Hi.
I can intro you for a while. Hold on. Okay, so I think, yeah, it's 5, well, 8 in the Philippines. So I can start the intro. So happy Friday, everybody. Sana masarap dinner niyo, but stay with us, hang in there, because we have another amazing university with us. But first things first, thank you to our sponsors, the Princeton Review Philippines, AUG Student Services, LIMS Review Center, Study International Philippines, AIM Review Philippines, ICLA at Yamanashi Gakuin, Queen's University, and Syracuse University. So now I am happy to introduce today's speaker. They are with us representing the University of Waterloo in Canada, and they'll be with us for an hour to present about like the academic, student life, and more at the university. Also, is it okay if I record the session so that people can tune in when they want to? Okay, nice, thank you. So without further ado, this is Amelia Burton. Take it away.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So I'm just going to share my screen with the presentation that I have for you today.
Does Zoom allow you to? Nice.
Perfect. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Hello, and thank you so much for joining in today to learn a little bit more about the University of Waterloo. We know that going to university isn't just about getting your degree, it's a life-changing experience. When you finish university, it won't just be the degree that helps you to land that dream job or help you start your own business or take that next step to professional school. We know it'll be the combination of the classes that you take, the professors that you are learning from, the work experience you have during your degree, and the on-campus experience, or even the network that you're creating while you're at university that will help you to get where you want to go in the future. Waterloo will definitely help to discover your story and give you the skills that you need to be ready for your future. So my name is Amelia Burton. I'm a graduate from the University of Waterloo from the Biomedical Sciences program, which is part of our Faculty of Science at Waterloo. And now I'm the undergraduate recruitment and admission officer. I work for the Faculty of Math, but I represent the whole university at Waterloo. And I'm happy to share some of my favorite things about Waterloo today, and then also share a little bit more about what it would mean to be a student at Waterloo. To start all of our presentations, we like to first acknowledge that much of our work takes place on the traditional territories of the neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples. Our main campus is situated on the Haldeman Track, the land granted to the Six Nations that include 6 miles on each side of the Grand River. We do this territorial acknowledgement to acknowledge the land of the peoples on which we work and live, and our active work towards reconciliation that takes place across our campuses through research, learning, teaching, and community building. So we know that you're starting to think about your future and you're trying to figure out what it is that you might want to do when you're at university. Today, I can tell you that the future is often unclear, it's ambiguous, it's complex, it's uncertain, and Waterloo wants to help prepare you for what that looks like. We know that you've experienced rapid transition to online learning through a global pandemic, and that you might not know exactly what you want to do when you graduate, but you might know what you're passionate about. And we know that you're built for change. The University of Waterloo is also helping to create change makers for the future. So I'm here to explain a little bit about what Waterloo education is and why it's helping you to be future ready for whatever change comes next. So Waterloo was born doing things differently. We were the first university in Canada to offer co-op, and I'll explain a little bit about what co-op means later in the presentation. But it's giving students practical work experience as part of your education. So getting to work for companies and getting a better sense of what you want to do when you graduate. This was a really different approach to university education when Waterloo was first founded in the 1950s. And in fact, other universities didn't necessarily think this was a good idea. They didn't see the value in students learning in the classroom one term and then working in industry on the next term. Waterloo's founders knew that this unique approach would better prepare our graduates because we had strong connections to industry. Today, Waterloo students have access to the largest co-op job pool in North America, giving you lots of options to explore your career and try new things. And at Waterloo, you're going to get your hands dirty, whether that's through fine arts, the environment, biology, through different labs that we have available, but you also will have the opportunity to get hands-on experience directly related to your field, either in the classroom, through volunteer opportunities, or through that paid work experience that I mentioned. So it's no wonder that we've been ranked #1 for career preparation in Canada, and we have alumni in 150 different countries around the world. That means that our Waterloo degree is getting global attention. So throughout the presentation, I'll take you through kind of the different elements that we offer at Waterloo. And the way that we're going to structure the presentation is almost as if you're looking at a resume or what you would need when you're applying to jobs when you graduate. We know it's important to have more than just your education. And so we want to show you the different experiences Waterloo can give you during your time in your undergraduate degree. This is King Warrior. It's our mascot at Waterloo, and he represents all of our teams on campus. Throughout the presentation, we're going to use King Warrior and that resume as a place to capture and collect all the great learnings and experiences that you would have as an opportunity to get at Waterloo. So I'm going to highlight the programs that you can study at Waterloo. Then we're going to highlight the ways that you can build your experience outside of the classroom. And finally, I'll look at the ways that our warriors, our students at Waterloo, build their leadership skills and community network at the university. So the University of Waterloo, starting to talk about the program experience, we have over 100 different programs to choose from at the university, and this is spread across 6 different faculties. We have our Faculty of Arts, Engineering, Environment, Health, Math, and Science. Plus, we also have over a dozen business programs that are uniquely embedded into the different faculties that we offer, giving you kind of a unique combination of business along with a specialized area of study. So when you're choosing a program, we know that keeping in mind the importance of studying what you love is really important. Pursuing subjects that you're passionate about means that you're going to do better in those subjects because you're going to really enjoy what you're studying. So I encourage you to take the time to discover what that might look like for you. And as you go through our list of programs, I'm sure that there's some in here that you've never heard of before, like knowledge integration, sexuality, marriage and family studies, science and aviation, therapeutic recreation, or social development studies. So when you're choosing a program, definitely take some time to explore what's out there. And I know between different universities, sometimes the names of programs can be slightly different, but they can be similar. So I can show you what we have and how we name them at Waterloo, and I'm happy to answer any questions as I kind of conclude the presentation about any individual programs you might be looking for that you can't find. So I know that this offers a lot more choice than what you might have in high school right now. And I'll take you through the different faculties, and I won't go through every program because we'd be here for a very long time, but I will give you an overview of the different programs that we offer at Waterloo. So the first is our Faculty of Arts. Within this faculty, we have 28 different majors and entry programs. And each faculty at Waterloo becomes your academic home base on campus. So this would be where you take the majority of your courses during your time at the university. Waterloo Arts has an incredible breadth of flexible programs in the social sciences, humanities, visual arts, and languages, as well as global business and digital arts, and our accounting and financial management program. This faculty produces graduates who are creative, critical thinkers, and lifelong learners. On each faculty that I go through, I'll share a little bit of a story of one of our students that are currently at Waterloo. So this student here was helping to discover how a forgotten World War II diary translated into real-world impact today. So this is Anna, and Anna is a 4th-year history major at Waterloo. And as part of a research paper, she dug into the diary of a World War II prisoner of war who was captured when they were only 22 years old. Her research found that many World War II prisoners who returned to Canada struggled with feelings of a lack of support from the government, and they struggled for decades. So researching and understanding the historical big picture like this will help prepare Anna to make evidence-based recommendations for actions today to help reduce the effects of trauma for future veterans. And this is the type of impact our students within the Faculty of Arts have when they are combining what they're interested in and what they're studying and helping to make a positive impact on individuals around the world. Our next faculty is our Faculty of Engineering, and Waterloo is home to the largest engineering school in Canada, and it's ranked among the top 50 worldwide. Our 14 different engineering programs, as well as our architecture program, are 100% co-op. So that's that paid work experience that I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. Every single student in engineering is automatically part of that paid work experience as part of their engineering program. The other thing that's a little bit different about engineering at Waterloo is that there's no general first year. So that means that you start right away in the discipline that you are most passionate about. And Sam here is a mechatronics engineering student, and he actually got his first big idea when he was on a date. 2 years ago, with support from fellow engineering classmates and one of Waterloo's startup incubators, Velocity, Sam started his own company. He developed a system to help skiers and snowboarders stay safe on the slopes by mounting a video camera in areas of steep incline or landing zones. Computer vision software reads the video, recognizes fallen skiers or other dangers ahead, and sends those signals to red and green symbols on the pole, telling people to either stop or safely proceed. He actually appeared on a TV show called Dragon's Den and was rewarded with an investment of $250,000 by two of the dragons on the show. Sam was able to combine his passion for skiing with an academic learning and Waterloo's entrepreneurial ecosystem, giving him the tools that he needed to successfully launch his own company before he was even done university. And we'll talk a little bit about entrepreneurship later in the presentation, but it is a big part of what the University of Waterloo has to offer. And what you create and what the ideas that you come up with during your studies at Waterloo remain your property and not the property of the institution. So we encourage our students to come up with a lot of great ideas and combine their passions for what they might be interested in with what they're learning at the institution. Now, as I mentioned, engineering is direct entry, so we want to make sure that we're helping you figure out what engineering is the right fit for you, because you are applying to and going directly into the engineering that you're most interested in. We have a team of engineering ambassadors that represent all of the different majors and the different programs that I have listed here, and they are very eager to speak with students if you're trying to figure out what engineering you might be most interested in. We also have some great videos and information on our website about the differences between the different types of engineering. When you're applying to the university, you actually are only applying to one engineering program as well. So we want to make sure that you can get the answers that you need and find the engineering that's the right fit and that you are most interested in. Our next faculty is our Faculty of Environment, and students in environment are focused on making an impact from the local to the global stage. These students are committed to building a sustainable future for humanity at the most popular destination for environment students in the province of Ontario, where Waterloo is located in Canada. Ashok realized that there was a need for an environmental translator to get the word out, free from confusing words and different terminology that people outside of this industry would not understand. So Ashok started his own podcast called I Speak for the Trees. It's a great example of how our environment students are making an impact on the greater community, as well as the community on campus. Students within the Faculty of Environment are also responsible for bringing the farmers market on campus and getting us a bus pass that students can use to use any of the public transit within the Waterloo area. All you have to do is show your student card. So they have a positive impact, not just within their classes, but also affecting all the other university students and other faculties across campus. Next, our Faculty of Health is about improving health and quality of life. It's often thought of as the person faculty, everything from studying health from the cellular to the societal level. You'll find health students volunteering and engaged in many of our extracurricular activities, both on and off campus. This is John, and John is a recreation and sport business co-op student. And John chose Waterloo because the recreation and sport business program combines his passion for both sports and business. And he knew that the co-op program would give him opportunities to gain experiences and develop important network connections for his future career in the sports industry. This is an example of that combination of business plus other areas that you might be passionate about. And I'll show you what programs also combine those two areas in just a couple of slides, but it's a great example of how you can study business and get a background and an understanding in a broad range of business courses, but still get to study something else that you're really interested in at Waterloo. The next faculty is our Faculty of Math, and math and computer science are certainly popular at Waterloo, and for good reason. According to Forbes CareerCast, 6 of the top 10 jobs and the careers in the world start with one of these degrees found in the Faculty of Math. At Waterloo, we are the home to the largest concentration of math and computer science talent in the world. Our Faculty of Math definitely will put you in incredible company if you're someone that's passionate about these areas. What that Faculty of Math means and what the kind of term large means for Faculty of Math is that there's a large number of courses to choose from and over 200 professors that are teaching just in the Faculty of Math alone. So that means you have lots of choice into deciding exactly what it is you might want to study if you're interested in either math or computer science. In other universities, you might find computer science part of our Faculty of Science or engineering. Because computer science is embedded into our Faculty of Math, that also means that you're going to be studying math courses as part of your computer science degree. And then our computer science professors really believe that mathematics is the backbone for computer science. And you will get to see that in the courses that you take during your undergraduate degree. As I mentioned, this is the highest concentration of math and computer science talent in the world. And this student here is Natasha, and Natasha has an interest in artificial intelligence and machine learning. She determined that she could come up with a more accurate way to predict procedure times or surgery times in hospitals to minimize both the overtime and undertime of the staff in hospitals. The machine learning algorithm used 36 months of anonymous historical operating room data from 2017 to 2019, comprising 10,553 cases. By optimizing operating room booking times, the nursing overtime would have been cut by 21%, and this would have saved the hospital that she was working with over $469,000 over 3 years. Given these impressive theoretical savings, Natasha is now considering exploring other areas where artificial intelligence and machine learning can improve healthcare. Natasha's having a big impact on healthcare as a computer science student at Waterloo, even before she finishes her undergraduate studies. And often we get questions about asking what can you do with mathematics and what areas can you go into with mathematics? And the answer is that it's found in many different industries, as math and computer science are teaching you to be really great problem solvers. And that gives you a unique set of skills that can be used in a variety of different types of careers once you finish your undergraduate studies. Now, our last faculty is our Faculty of Science, and this is where you will find Canada Research Chairs who have more than 50 million in annual research funding, and even a Nobel laureate, Professor Donna Strickland. There are 18 different programs covering the physical, life, and environmental sciences, as well as interdisciplinary programs and professional schools for optometry and pharmacy. This student's name is Deep, and Deep is in biomedical science, which doesn't have co-op, So Deep spends his summers volunteering with a dentist because he knows that he wants to go into cosmetic dentistry once he finishes his undergraduate degree. And this is a great example of how you can leverage opportunities outside of the co-op program for where you see your career going in the future. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that Waterloo has business, but it's not its own faculty. So instead, you'll find it embedded in all of the other faculties that we have on campus. These programs we call our unique plus business programs. So it offers you the breadth of business courses as well as an in-depth look at a subject that you really enjoy. These programs produce grads who are ready to fill niche roles in industry or apply your skills in business or another field of interest. So it gives you that unique combination of both areas. One thing that's a little bit different is that you aren't graduating with a business degree at the end of these programs. You're graduating with whatever area you're specializing in. So for the environment and business program, you'd graduate with the environmental studies major, but with that business background as well. So this helps to cover the educational experiences and your academic experience at the University of Waterloo. Your story will continue to evolve as you have more things to add. And as you can see on King Warrior's resume here, there's still lots of space to add additional experiences. So this is where we'll take you out of the textbook and out of the classroom to make sure you don't just hear about what engineers do, but you also get the opportunity to work in an engineering firm. You don't just hear about what a career in kinesiology is, but you also get to work with athletes in helping to improve performance. So we'll continue to see a little bit more about what experience looks like at Waterloo. And I know that experience might look different for different students. That could include field courses, it could include research, labs, DONs, which are your supports when you're in residence, volunteering, co-op work experience, entrepreneurship, jobs, or travel. And there's lots of more experiences as well. To get started, we want to talk about one of the biggest ways that students get experience during their time at Waterloo, and that's through our co-op system of education. When it comes to experience, if employability is your focus, then we definitely have you covered. The future of work is changing quickly, and we're doing everything that we can to help prepare our graduates to be ready for the jobs of the future. So about 70% of our students at Waterloo are in cooperative education, also known as co-op. Students will alternate between 4-month study terms and 4-month work terms. So this creates a cycle. Classroom learning makes the workplace contribution stronger, and then the work enhances the learning of students as well. And so throughout your degree, you'll alternate back and forth between work and school. So this means that students graduate with 2 years of paid work experience, as well as a network of connections that you can help shape according to your interest, your skills, and your experience. In co-op, students try up to 6 different jobs and gain between 16 and 24 months of work experience by the time that you graduate. And of course, these are paid co-op terms. The amount that's on the screen here is in Canadian dollars, and it's just an example of the range that students would earn on one work term. So that's 4 months. And students would get between 4 to 6 different work terms in total by the time that they graduate. So by the time that you finish, you typically have higher employment rates, higher wages in the first 6 months after graduating, but most importantly, a better understanding of what you want to do when you finish your studies. So it's a great way to test drive different careers, figuring out what you like and what you might not like to do once you finish your studies at university. Also being challenged by the job search process. Co-op is definitely not easy. You have to put in the work to be successful, manage your time wisely, and take a lot of initiatives, but the experiential benefits that you gain are invaluable. We have the largest network of co-op employers in the world, with over 7,100 employers hiring Waterloo students each year. And Waterloo is recognized as the #1 school in Canada for employer-student connections. Most of our jobs are found either in the Waterloo area, the Toronto area, so the largest city in Canada, or they are found kind of across Canada or in other countries around the world. We've had students work in the Philippines on their co-op work term as well. So the next area that I'll focus on, and I've touched on this already, is entrepreneurship. It's one area of experience that many students participate in at Waterloo is in entrepreneurship. I mentioned one of the startup incubators earlier, but Concept Velocity helps to provide coaching for pitch preparation, pre-incubator programs, intro and working sessions, and grants, all while you're still a student. About 19% of tech founders in Canada graduated from Waterloo. We have 23 companies that have launched over 10 years with a cumulative investment raised to date of about $65 million. And there's 474 Waterloo entrepreneurs that have raised about $12.9 billion. So academically, you can also take a minor or an option in entrepreneurship, and that's available to all students. It doesn't matter what program you're studying at the university. But where the real experience comes into play is diving in and turning your idea into reality. And we also have an entire ecosystem of innovation to help you do that. So we have programs like Concept by Velocity, St. Paul's Greenhouse, where you can turn the basics of entrepreneurship, attend workshops, build new skills, and connect with peers and mentors to help advise you during your studies. And you can even pitch your own idea for the chance to win up to $50,000 Canadian to help grow your idea. And while this might seem like a lofty idea, it's clearly not, because we've had over 400 startups that have already been created through entrepreneurship on campus at Waterloo. And it's definitely embedded into the ecosystem of what we have to offer. Now, if you're not someone that's interested in entrepreneurship or co-op, that's not the only way to get hands-on experience. So how do students get that experience at Waterloo? Well, it would take more time than I have today to talk about all the different ways. It's a core value of our education. It's embedded into our programs through labs and learning experiences, such as making a robot, sampling a stream through environmental sciences. And it complements your education with certificate programs like EDGE that allow students to learn and grow. It's kind of like being an athletic trainer for one of our varsity teams, a leader in residence life, or even a short-term volunteer trip to a developing country to help improve sustainability around the world. So there's lots of different ways to get that hands-on learning outside of the classroom. And a lot of this is embedded into your courses as well. So going back to look at that resume from the start of the presentation and the story that you're telling about yourself during your education, there's lots of ways to help you get noticed. So imagine adding 4 to 5 or even 6 unique work experiences to your resume. Each year you get to try something new, test drive a different role, and acquire new future-ready skills, such as technological agility, self-management, information and data literacy. And during your first work term, will help you gain these skills. Even if it's not your dream job or in your dream field, you'll learn more about what it is that you do want to do when you finish your studies. And you'll gain the skills that will help you to land increasingly relevant jobs or end up discovering exactly what you want to do when you graduate. And that's okay if you don't have work experience before you come to Waterloo. A lot of students coming into the university don't have previous work experience. And we're here to help you build your resume and prepare for that first application when you're applying to co-op jobs on campus. So if you have not worked before, which is very common for a lot of international students coming into the university, that is absolutely okay. And we are here to help support you in your application process. So what you do in the classroom and on the work term is important, but it's those times in between classes when you really get to build your community that you are part of while you're at university, making new friends, relaxing a little to help make some of those memorable moments during university. It's really important that this is a big part of your university experience. This will be your home away from home when you're coming to university, especially as you're traveling internationally. And we want to make sure that you're able to keep your time balanced between what you're studying and those other things that you're interested in at the university. It'll help you get through some challenging times because there will be tough times when you've got lots of exams and you're preparing and writing essays and things along those lines. But this community will also help you celebrate the successes as well, because you'll definitely have lots of successes throughout your undergraduate degree. The first community that you will be part of on campus is in housing and residence. Waterloo has 10 residences for students to live in, and we have a guaranteed residence for first-year students. It's not just a roof over your head, it's also a great way to meet people and ensure that you have all the supports you need for a successful transition to university. Regardless of which residence you choose, you'll become part of a greater community with upper year students to support you and help plan social activities as you get to know on-campus events, tutoring in residence, and all the other different things that housing has to offer. We also have university colleges, which are additional residences that offer a smaller community feel on campus. So if you're looking for a smaller home base, these university colleges might be a good option for you. They're still part of the institution. They just offer a smaller community within the university residences. So that third element of your university experience, that communities that will welcome and support you, it's important to feel like you belong. And at Waterloo, we want to ensure that you're connected with the people you need to in order to feel that belonging to campus. Those connections could be discovered with other students, like through the 200 different clubs that we have run by Waterloo, our Undergraduate Students Association, or our student government on campus that supports students. These clubs cover everything from religious and cultural groups to academics, sports, and other interests, including anime, knitting, and cheese, just to name a few. Our student government also supports students through critical services like the GLOW Center for Sexual and Gender Diversity, the UW Racial Advocacy for Inclusion, and the Solidarity and Equity, and many other groups as well. And you'll also find connections through athletics, and we have lots of options for that on campus. We are home to one of Canada's largest campus recreation programs, which includes intramural leagues, where you're joining sports teams and on sports teams with other students across campus. And this ranges from beginner through to all-star for those that have been playing sports for many years in 11 different sports. They also have facilities for recreation users and student athletes, instructional courses in dance, yoga, Pilates, and lots more. In addition to our recreation, we also have 32 varsity teams on campus. So if you are interested in playing and competing against other institutions representing Waterloo, this is the way that you would do that through our varsity teams. We also have athletic scholarships for many of these varsity teams as well. If you're interested in learning more, I can provide you with our website, gowarriorsgo.ca. You can fill out a recruit form and have a member of our athletics department connect with you. And if you don't want to join a varsity team, we are always looking for Warrior fans cheering on from the stands and supporting our different varsity athletes. And then, of course, there's the greater community that you would be part of, the city of Waterloo. It's a really incredible place to be a student. We have 3 different post-secondary institutions in one city. So that means that there's always lots to explore and lots to do both on and off campus. And it's really easy to get around on our bus and our light rail transit system, which you can see in this picture here. And that's all included in your student fees. Waterloo is about 100 kilometers from the city of Toronto, which is the largest city in Canada. And you can stay connected with bus and rail service connecting daily to get to the city of Toronto. And if you want to stay closer to home, there's lots to do in Waterloo as well, exploring uptown Waterloo, where we have cafes and shops, including a farmer's market, or going out to many different spots and restaurants in the city with friends. So all of these communities help to build experiences and add the richness of your university education, providing those exciting experiences outside of the classroom that will definitely stay with you forever. And throughout the presentation today, this has been a general overview. If you're interested in learning more at this point, that's great. We have lots of great information that expands on what I've touched on today that will give you more information about how you can find that right fit at Waterloo. We want to make sure that we're with you through every step of the process. You can sign up to get a digital brochure online that will give some more information about our different faculties on campus. But before I wrap up the presentation, I want to share with you what we're looking for in terms of admission at Waterloo. So you can find specific admission requirements for all of our programs based on the curriculum that you might be studying in high school. And we tailor the admissions based on what you'd be studying at university. So in the sciences, we'll be looking for you to have taken science courses in high school. For mathematics, we're going to put an emphasis on your math course in high school. So depending on what it is you're applying for, we'll ask for slightly different required courses. When you select your curriculum that you're interested in on this website that's on the screen now, and the curriculum, sorry, that you're studying in high school, and then the program you're interested in studying at university, you'll then be able to view the required courses as well as the minimum admission average for consideration to gain entry into that program. Now, in addition to the admission requirements, Waterloo is looking at more than just grades. So we ask students to fill out the admission information form. This is an opportunity for you to tell us about all the interesting experiences you've had outside of the classroom. Some programs will also require an interview, like our Faculty of Engineering or our accounting program. And that's all done online and virtual, so you don't have to be on campus to do that. And others will ask you for a portfolio, like our architecture program. So we will let you know through email if there's any additional requirements that we would require from you during the application process. But this admission information form is used both for admissions for some programs, but also for scholarships. And other, each faculty has the general entrance scholarships, and no matter what program you've applied to, you're automatically considered for these general entrance scholarships. In addition to the general scholarships, we have faculty specific scholarships that will give you a combination of what you're applying with on your grades, and then also this admission information form to make that final decision for scholarships. And that will help to cover some of the costs at university. We don't have full ride or full coverage scholarships, unfortunately, but a big way that different individuals will help to pay for their education is through co-op or cooperative education. All of our tuition information and specific scholarship information is available on our Future Students website. So on the website that's just on the screen right now. But if you want to learn a little bit more and stay in touch with the university, we also have a newsletter that goes out throughout the year that will give you more information on up-to-date information that's happening on campus. And if you're applying to one of the programs at Waterloo, it will give you more information to help make sure you're not missing key deadlines at the university. And if you want to learn more and spend time kind of exploring our website, that uwaterloo.ca/future is where you'll find all the answers to many of your Waterloo questions. We know Waterloo students are high achievers. Each year we welcome some of the brightest students from across the country and around the world to start at Waterloo. Our students are motivated and very focused on gaining experience, whether it's in the workplace, through cooperative education, exploring through or many hands-on experiences. Our students are learning at the forefront of their fields. They're also gaining skills in adapting to our ever-changing future. Because of these skills, employers worldwide recognize a Waterloo degree. We have students come to Waterloo from all over the world. We have over 90 nationalities that are represented by our student body, and we're committed to working harder than ever to recognize, respect, and celebrate the unique cultural backgrounds of our students. So throughout the presentation, we talked about King Warrior and the skills and experiences he needs to be successful in whatever he chooses, whether it's finding a job in a chosen career path, launching a business, or moving on to grad school to continue education. Your experience will be as unique as you are when you're at university. So your education, experience, and the opportunities at Waterloo will shape you for your story and the foundation for your next adventure beyond your education. So whatever it is that you're preparing for, whether it is the next career, professional school, after graduation, we have the skills and experiences to help you get there. So this final slide here has all of our social channels that will give you insight into all of the different things that are happening on campus at Waterloo. Our general email address is askus@uwaterloo.ca. I've also included my contact information. So if you have any questions for me after we wrap up that I don't have a chance to answer today, I can definitely follow up with any additional questions. I appreciate all of the questions you put into the chat. I'm just going to pull that up now and I'll go through those questions. And if you do think of anything else, feel free to keep adding those questions in now. I know that we do still have about 15 minutes, so happy to answer those questions. So I see there's a question asking if Waterloo is near a city or downtown. Yeah, so Waterloo is right embedded into the city of Waterloo. And the city of Waterloo is known as a tri-city, so it's made up of 3 different municipalities, Waterloo, Kitchener, and Cambridge. And it has over close to kind of 600,000 people living in that area. And Waterloo University is kind of a city within a city. So the campus itself, which is what you can see behind me, that's just the campus of Waterloo, but the city of Waterloo is directly around campus. So it is part of and embedded into the city of Waterloo, and we're connected to Toronto with rail, so taking trains or bus. It's about 100 kilometers away. So depending on traffic, it's about an hour and a half to get to the city of Toronto from Waterloo. Is there a faculty that the school is most known for? I think around the world, the Faculty of Engineering and the Faculty of Math and Sciences are kind of what we often hear talk about, but there are a number of different programs like psychology, as well as some of our environment and recreation programs that are very unique to Waterloo. So I think overall the faculties, the engineering, mathematics, and sciences are what you often hear about the most. However, we do have unique programs embedded in the other faculties as well. And the way that we do business is quite different too. So those areas are different than what you might see at other universities. Why is the accounting and financial management in the Faculty of Arts? That's a good question. As I mentioned, we don't have a faculty of business. So instead, we've embedded our business programs into other faculties. So the accounting and financial management is in the Faculty of Arts. However, it's actually part of what we call our School of Accounting and Finance. So that school is embedded into the Faculty of Arts. But that doesn't mean that it is a humanities program. It is very much learning towards becoming a chartered professional accountant or a CPA when you graduate, even though it's part of the Faculty of Arts. At Waterloo, as I mentioned, we just don't have a full business faculty. So instead, we embed those programs into the other faculties that we do have. Does Waterloo require standardized tests for applying? So we do not require standardized testing. The only exception to that is if you are currently studying an American curriculum, that if you're taking AP courses, full AP courses, and you're applying to the Faculty of Engineering, they do require standardized testing, but the other faculties do not. And if you have additional questions about that, if you are in that curriculum, I'm happy to answer those questions. But for the most part, we don't require standardized testing. What type of student would thrive at Waterloo? As I kind of highlighted throughout the presentation, there are lots of different opportunities available. So we have students that have a variety of different backgrounds. We definitely have a reputation for have very high achieving students, that entrepreneurship background. And I think, as I mentioned with co-op, a lot of students that come to Waterloo, about 70% in total, are looking for that work experience. So they're looking for the opportunity to get that work experience during their undergraduate degree. So I think a lot of students are drawn to Waterloo that want to be able to test drive different careers during your studies, in addition to what you're learning in the classroom. So those kind of hopefully give you an answer of the types of students, but we do have a variety because it is really differ by faculty and what it is that you're hoping to get out of your degree once you finish your studies. Do we offer scholarships for international students? Absolutely. And I apologize, I didn't have the scholarship website in my presentation, but I'm happy if you want to send me an email, I'm happy to follow up with that additional information. So all of our general entrance scholarships are available for all students that apply. So there's no difference whether a student is a Canadian, a domestic student, or an international student. Those scholarships are available equally for all students. In addition to those general entrance scholarships, we also, as I mentioned, have faculty-specific scholarships. And again, it doesn't matter whether you're an international student or a student from within Canada, you're still eligible for those scholarships. We do also have specific scholarships on that are just for international students, and that is typically kind of the top scores, and the students with the highest average coming into each of our faculties will be eligible for those international student specific scholarships. So is it possible for an international student to study in Canada on a full ride financial package? It might be at some institutions. It's not as common in Canada as you might see at other countries. However, some universities do offer a full ride financial package. Unfortunately, at Waterloo, we do not. We do have a number of different scholarships, but we don't have a full ride scholarship that covers all expenses at the university, unfortunately. What kind of student is Waterloo looking for? So I think I answered this already. Someone had asked a similar question. So I'll leave that, but if you do have another element that I didn't cover in that question, feel free to ask your question again. But as I mentioned previously, there's a wide variety in what we're looking for students because there's so much to offer at Waterloo. But a lot of the things that are really drawing students to Waterloo are the opportunity for entrepreneurship, the work experience, and then the variety in the different courses that are unique to Waterloo. How is the Filipino community like in Waterloo? That's a great question. The city of Waterloo is very diverse. So we do have some members that are part of the Filipino community. We also have a Filipino student association on campus. So any student coming from the Philippines is welcome to join that club on campus. They often will bring in special Filipino food for part of their gatherings. And there's more information on our website if you want to look up the Filipino Student Association. We don't have a huge Filipino community in Waterloo because it is very diverse. So there's people from many different countries around the world living in the area. But because we're also so close to the city of Toronto, there's also quite a large Filipino community in Toronto as well. And you'll often see elements of that in the Waterloo region. So there's lots of support for students coming from the Philippines. And we've had a number of students coming from the Philippines to study at Waterloo in the past too. Does Waterloo provide housing for the entire degree program of students? So we only guarantee residence, so the housing for first year. You can apply to live in housing after your first year as well. However, there are a number of housing options very, very close to campus. Some of them are just across the street from where you would be taking your courses on campus. So we don't guarantee housing for your entire degree, but we do have the option if you would like to live on campus after your first year, but it's just not a guarantee. It depends on what space might be available for upper year students. So it's not a guarantee. There is options available, but most students choose to live off campus because there's lots of housing available in the community very, very close to campus. Is it possible that international students pay off their remaining tuition fees and other expenses that are not covered by scholarships through co-op? It could be possible, but not on every co-op term. You tend to make less on your first, second co-op term than you would on your final co-op term, for example. So it's definitely not a guarantee. Some students can, others won't be able to. It just depends on exactly what position you have, what company you're working for, but it's never a guarantee that you'd be able to cover everything. We definitely recommend that you have another way to help cover some of the costs outside of just scholarships and co-op when you're coming into the institution. And when will the application for admission open, and what are the important dates that we need to take note of? Great question. So the applications open typically at the beginning of October. So this year they will open at the beginning of October 2022 for students that would want to start university in September 2023. And most of the program's deadline, you need to apply by February 1st, 2023. So that will be the other important date to keep in mind. And then admissions will happen between February and May, depending on the program. Some of our more competitive programs might send out their admissions a little bit later than others. But the deadlines that you need to keep in mind, the applications open in October and then they close at the beginning of February. So those will be the most important dates. And if you want to sign up for our newsletter, we also will send out reminders and things like that to keep you in the loop as you're kind of going through and thinking about applying to Waterloo. What is the health insurance in Canada for international students? Yeah, great question. We have a health insurance specifically for international students that wouldn't be covered by our Canadian health insurance. And that is part of your fees when you're paying your fees for the university. It has great coverage. It actually covers a little bit more than my health insurance does through work. So it has great coverage for students, and that allows you to have access to different emergency services, general health care, prescriptions, other things like dental and visual care as well. So it does have quite a comprehensive coverage. And if you want to find some more details, I'm happy to share that. If you send me an email, I can send you the link for where the health insurance is. And it's done through our student association. They have the contract with health insurance coverage for our students. Where do we apply like a common app or website? Yes. So in Canada, specifically in the province where Waterloo is located, we have a common app known as the Ontario University Application Centre, or OUAC. And that website, any university found in the province of Ontario, and there's 21 of us in total, use the same website. So you would use that common application, you apply and pay for 3 applications, and that gives you the option of applying to Waterloo either for 3 different programs, or you could apply to Waterloo for 1 program and another institution like the University of Toronto for another program. So that common website is where all of the applications for the Ontario universities are found. Is the University of Waterloo safe, and do the areas around it have low crime rates? Yes, absolutely. The University of Waterloo is very safe, as is the surrounding area. We have a special police force just on campus that acts as kind of our campus security to make sure that all students feel safe while they're on campus. And in general, the region of Waterloo has a very low crime rate. In general, Canada is a very safe country. We take the safety and security of our students coming into Canada very seriously. But yes, both the university as well as the city is a very safe place for our students. So I see a question about a Canadian citizen studying in the Philippines. Do you pay tuition based on international students or Canadian? So if you're a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, then you would pay tuition that is the Canadian or the domestic tuition, not the international student rate. So that is one difference. If you're studying in the Philippines, but you're a Canadian citizen, you would pay the domestic Canadian student tuition. And what would the student's monthly living expenses look like? I know we just have a couple minutes here, so I'll try to get through as many of these questions as I can. And then if I don't get to your question, feel free to send me an email. I'm happy to follow up with any additional questions through email too. So in terms of monthly expenses, you pay your tuition by term. So you wouldn't be paying that each month. And then if you're living in residence, you're again paying that by term, and that includes your food costs as well. In addition to the tuition and residence, you would be paying for books at the beginning of the semester and any other materials you would need for your lectures. But then we also kind of your living expenses would then just be any additional clothing allowances. So coming into Canada, making sure you have winter clothes to be ready for the winter and to be warm and safe for the winter. And then any other entertainment expenses outside of that. And then I have our finance website. On that future website that I have on the screen here has a full budget calendar calculator that you can actually see all the different expenses that you would have to pay for each term at the university. That provides a better understanding too and more comprehensive. And in terms of SAT scores, so that again is only for engineering and only if you're in an American school system. So if you are, then when you look up the admission requirements online, you'd be able to see the specific SAT scores, but in general, they're not required if it's just you're applying to another faculty or if you are not currently in AP courses in an American curriculum. We unfortunately don't have full ride scholarships, and the need-based, we actually call them something different than scholarships, but again, a full kind of comprehensive of all of the scholarships and finances are on our website. I'm happy to point it out if you can't find that as well. And I'm just looking at our time. I know we're about to wrap up and there's a couple of extra questions here. So I can turn my camera off and I can answer these just in the chat before I log off today. But I wanted to thank you very much for your attention and participation in the presentation. And thank you to CAMP for having me come and present to you today. It's great to chat to everyone. Hopefully I will continue to chat to some of you that might be interested in learning more about Waterloo. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amelia. We loved having you, and thank you for sharing your time with us. Yeah, you can feel free to stay and call. You should still be able to answer as a panelist. But we also have our next speaker already on call, representing Nagoya University. Marian is here with us. Hi. You should be able to share your screen already,
Okay,
actually.
I will do that.
But if it doesn't work, just let me know. I will introduce you first. So, hello everyone to our attendees today. Stay in there. This is our third session of the day. I hope you guys are still with us. But yes, our next university is Nagoya University, and we're here with Marian Kinder, the Director of International Admissions, here at Nagoya. So they'll be here with us for an hour. Send in your questions at any point if you have them with the Q&A box, but I'll also be linking an interest form so that if you want your contact details to be sent to Nagoya University, they will be able to access it. Okay, I won't like volunteer your time. So yeah, take it away. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Hi, my name is Marian Kinder. I'm from Nagoya University, and I've been living in Japan for about, I think, 14 years now, and I've been working at the university ever since. Yeah, and I would just jump into the presentation. So I wish everyone a good evening. We also have 10 p.m. here in Japan. I think it's 1 hour time difference. And yeah, just give me about 25-30 minutes for the presentation, and then we have a lot of time for Q&A. Okay, so the picture you see here is our main building, the Toyota Auditorium. This is also the building where you have your entrance and graduation ceremony in year 1 and year 4, hopefully. And then this is the content of today's presentation. So I will talk a little bit about the city, then go to the university, the international programs, the campus facilities, and then after you maybe have gained some interest, also talk about how to apply and what it costs and what actually our students do after graduation. Okay, so I think many of you have been to Japan for holidays or have heard a lot about Japan, but often when I meet people, they have not heard much about Nagoya, the city, even though it's actually very important for the economy of Japan. So we are the 4th largest city in Japan, 90 minutes away from Tokyo, 45 minutes from Osaka, 30 minutes from Kyoto. And it is an industrial city, quite nicely organized. There are more than 110 headquarters in the area. The most famous one, I think, is Toyota. We also have Boeing, and also the bullet train, the Shinkansen, the Japanese JR, is manufactured mainly in Nagoya. So there's heavy industry, but it's still a beautiful city with a nice downtown and a lot of greenery outside. And the reason why we always highlight this is that there are a lot of job opportunities for our students in the area. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So the university was established more than 140 years ago as a medical school and is one of the national universities in Japan. As you can also see here, we have more graduate schools than undergraduate schools. So it's a research intensive university. And usually when there's no COVID around, we have about 20% international students, but Japan is slightly slowly opening the borders again. So our incoming students are all arriving in September, and I think it will be very diverse on campus again. The programs I'm talking about today are all taught in English, so fully taught in English. You do not need to know any Japanese. And even though we are a mid-range university with 17,000 students, our international programs are rather small, with only 5 to 10 students per program, 50 to 60 students for the undergraduate programs in total per year. So it's a really small research intensive university, but also we are from everywhere in the world, including Japanese nationals who have been educated abroad or in an international school in Japan. Okay, so let's take a look about how our campus looks like. We actually have 3 campuses in the city. This is our main campus, the Higashiyama campus, where also most of the G30 classes are taught. And as you can see, it's in the middle of the city. The green patch above our campus is the Nagoya Zoo. So if you study biology, when you study biology, you will also do some research at the zoo. And I think a fancy item is the train station in the middle of the campus. It's called Nagoya Daigaku, Nagoya University. So you can easily reach downtown, the station, or the airport. Yeah, and there are many eateries on campus, including the famous American coffee shop in the library, the green logo. And yeah, there's a lot of Japanese food. No sushi usually on campus, but also often we have like Korean week or Indian week. So you can have a lot of different food, and sports facilities are also on campus. Okay. Yes. And then also very important, I think, for our students is the study abroad opportunity. So often our students go study abroad for 6 to 12 months in year 3. We have more than 466 agreements worldwide. We also have a lot of overseas offices. So I think that is a great opportunity to study abroad while you already study abroad. So a lot of our students make use of this good opportunity. We also have short time exchange for 2 weeks, for example, with the University of Cambridge in the UK. Okay, and then I think a lot of you will be very young when you join us in Japan. maybe 16, 17, 18. So there is a lot of student support. You are not alone on campus. As I already mentioned, the programs are rather small. So you have a good oversight. You can maybe know all of your classmates, but there's also a service guaranteed by the university, which is academic advisor. So a professor or teacher who will be in charge of you. There's a tutor system in place that is also a part-time job for our senior students. So a senior student will be hired to take care of the first year student. You can ask all academic questions or even how to organize a cell phone and all those kind of things. There is a career service office in place for international students to find a job in Japan, because job hunting in Japan already starts in the almost last year of university. And then there's counseling service if you have any problems, and even life skill training. So how to write a resume, how to do ikebana, all those cultural things, how to pass your meishi in the right way, all those kind of things. Okay. And then these are the programs we offer fully taught in English, so you do not need to know any Japanese. And you have 6 boxes here, but there's actually 10 programs in total, so I will read them out. We have automotive engineering because of our close relationship to Toyota. So there are 2 different programs. One is mechanical and one is electrical. And this is important because you will apply to a certain program when you apply to our university. Okay, and then we also have chemistry by the School of Science or School of Engineering, so 2 different degrees. Biology also is offered by the School of Science or Agriculture, and we have physics. For those who are like me, not very good in math, we also have social science, law and political science, economics and business administration, and that is my background, Japan and Asia cultural studies. So if you're interested in film history or modern literature, this is the place to go. Okay, we also have plenty of master and PhD programs. So if you're interested in further education, please check our website because there's so many programs I will not have time to read them out. Okay. Yeah, there's a small summary of some of the programs. So you can find the information on our website. Okay. And this is how to apply. So for Japan, if you're interested in, because there are many good universities and many of us offer English programs, one thing I would like to say before I start the presentation about our application system is that each of the universities in Japan has different rules and regulations and deadlines. So if you're interested to apply to maybe a parallel to a few of us, do a lot of research, maybe create an Excel file and take down some notes on how to apply to each of us, because there's no centralized system like we already heard in Canada. It's all individual. Each university has their own admission requirements, deadlines. So be careful and be aware of this. Okay, let's talk about Nagoya University's admission system, application flow. So first of all, our intake is in October. So we roughly start applying a year ahead. So in September this year, for next year, October intake. So this year, September, we will publish the admission requirements for next year, October intake. So you can start preparing from the end of September, write the essay and get all the documents together. The application system for next year, October admission will start on, I think, 11th of November. And then the deadline is December 12th, if I'm not really wrong. So yeah, so we have a short window where you can submit your application online. So everything is online. The document can be uploaded to the system. And after you submitted the documents listed here, so graduation proof, transcript, essay, recommendation letter, English is only required if your school is not taught in English, and standardized is also only required if it's a national test. So SAT, ACT is an option. So you submit all of these online. And then there's a second step. After we review all the documents, we will invite the shortlisted candidates for an interview. And the interview is done online. So you will meet the professors who will be teaching you during the program. So the engineering and science interview is 45 minutes, and the econ, law, and JAX is 30 minutes. But I need to tell you that the interview for engineering and science is more like an oral interview. So there will be some math questions, some physics questions, some biology, but it's not a written examination, it's an oral examination. So you do some mental math, if you want to give it that way. And then after the interview, the professor, so not the admission officer, will decide who will come and also who will get the scholarship. I will talk about the scholarship in a second. So at the same time, you know, you get in and also if you get the scholarship or not. So it will help your decision. And then in September, you will come to Japan and then you will have about roughly 2 weeks of orientation before you start your classes in October. Okay, I think that's everything. If you're interested for the graduate program, it's similar process, but the essays would be research proposal because that is very important for the graduate program. Okay, so costs. What would it cost without a scholarship? So this is all in Japanese yen, but we have given you the USD. So right now, the yen is really weak, so it's good when you come from outside. It's actually 130 yen, I think, for one USD. So it's roughly 4,000 US dollar for tuition fee for 1 year. So you have to pay a small application fee and the registration fee one-time payment. But the tuition fee for everyone, including Japanese, doesn't matter if you study engineering or social science, is roughly 4,000 USD at the moment. For the living expenses, we have a dormitory for the first year guaranteed if you come from outside, which is your own room, your own bathroom, and your own little kitchen. 10 minutes walk to the university is about $250. If you live around the university from the second year onward, it's not much more expensive. So it's kind of nicely located here. There's 2 other universities touching my university. So there are many, many housing options for students. Personal expenses really depend on your personal spending habit, but usually we say about 250 to 500 USD if you have a comfortable life. And you're also able to work part-time because it's part of your visa. So all in all, it's quite affordable already. But when you apply to our program, you also automatically apply to the scholarship, which is called Nagoya University G30 Undergraduate Scholarship, and it's merit and need based. So I would say roughly 15% of our intake receive this scholarship. So this covers 4 years of your tuition fee. You don't have to pay the university, but the university will actually pay you every year 500,000 Japanese yen, which is about 3,800 USD. Into your pocket, so you can cover your rent, some food, and also the registration fee will be reimbursed. So this is a really good deal, and you will know if you get this scholarship at the time of admission, so you can easily decide if you want to come or not. Other than that, we also have a government scholarship, which is mixed. You might have heard about it if you're interested in studying in Japan. There are 2 ways of getting the mixed scholarship. One is through embassy interview, and one is by university nomination. So if you have the right age, the right nationality, and that's the case in the Philippines, you might be able to also get the MEX scholarship, which is double the stipend, including a flight ticket. Yes, and we will also tell you at the time of admissions. Then there is a tuition waiver scheme for those who receive no scholarship, which is usually maybe 50% of tuition fee. And there are private scholarships after enrollment that are usually merit-based. So this is, I think, the gist of it. There are some hidden scholarships as well. JASO scholarship, for example, which a lot of our students receive for half a year. Okay, what do our students do after graduation from the bachelor degree? So roughly 60% are continuing their education in graduate programs. Approximately half of our students stay in Japan, stay at Nagoya University, or go to another university in Japan. And the rest are going to universities outside, going to the US, Canada, Europe. So there are many places. Some will go to China, some go back to their home country. So you have all the doors open, whatever you want to do. And also those who seek employment in Japan, more and more companies need students who are multilingual, because the local students often are only able to speak Japanese. So you have an advantage there, because you do also have to study Japanese during your first year at Nagoya University. Okay, I think I'm almost to the end. Yeah, and I think there are some general information I would like to share. If you're applying to a Japanese university, the deadline is very important. And for example, Nagoya University has a timestamp. So it's not only a date you have to be aware of, but also a time. So for us, it's 4 p.m. But in our admission system, there is like a countdown clock that helps you to not forget. Also, all of us have different procedures. So for us, you can submit everything online. You can ask your school to send it from the school email, but for other universities, you might have to send it by post. So plan ahead with a lot of time so you can reach on time. And then because of all of us have different procedures, read the admission requirements carefully. And whenever you have a question, you should send an email or inquiry to the university, because as my professor said, there are no stupid questions, only stupid answers. So you can also find us on social media. Yeah, can get in contact with our current students for more information and tips and tricks on how to apply. So yeah, feel free to get in contact with the university. Okay, and I think I will shut this page down so you can have time to ask me a lot of questions from your side, and I will go to the Q&A. Yes. So let me see. How to get around to other cities from Nagoya. It's easy. So if you have been to Japan, there is a long bullet train coming from Tokyo to the end of Japan, the other side, Hiroshima, Fukuoka. So we are on the bullet train, a major line, so one of the main stops. So it's very easy to go to the city. If you're a little bit older and you have a driver's license, you can also go by car. And then for our students to save some money, they usually take a night bus or take public transportation. So that's really easy to go around in Japan. And we are nicely located in Tokai area. So you have the mountains in Gifu on one side and the ocean on the other side. So every time of the year, you have something to do. Okay. Okay. Okay, can STEM students from the Philippines go to Nagoya under mixed? I think yes, in general, that's even if you're not STEM, any student can go to Nagoya under mixed. I think mixed is always a bit confusing, the topic, because you have two different ways of getting in. So one way, as I informed you earlier, you can go to a local embassy and apply there. Then you know you will get the MEX scholarship before you apply. Many of the MEX nominees study in Japanese, so go there for 5 years, learn 1 year Japanese and study in English. But then you have the other option, which is also applying to the program directly and hope for the university to nominate you. So most of the national universities have the MEX scholarship, like a few number of MEX scholarships, which we often do not announce on the website because we have to apply for it as well every year. So it's a bit unsure if we get it or not. But there is always a kind of a number of MEX scholarship we can nominate our students to. So it doesn't matter really what you study. You can apply to the MEX scholarship because you fall under the list of countries that is eligible for MEXT. Yes, so if you have any questions regarding this, because I know it's a bit complicated, send us an email. I will also send the email address to the chat later on. Thank you for the question. Okay, I will answer the next question. How much is the registration fee? So the registration fee is 280,000 approximately, which is about $2,000 US. This is a fee for everyone. And when you get the scholarship or the MEX scholarship, you will be reimbursed. So MEX scholarship, I don't think you have to pay it, but for our own scholarship, you will be reimbursed. Yes, so it's a one-time payment for anyone, including the Japanese students who enroll to our university. Okay, and the next question. Yes, if we are need aware or need blind, that's a really good question. For our G30 scholarship, it's a hybrid. So yes and no. If you have 10 students coming into the program and maybe 1 to 2 get the full scholarship, it is very sometimes a subjective decision by the professors. So it could be need aware or need blind. Usually it's a hybrid out of both. So it's really difficult for me to tell you exactly what you need to get the scholarship. But yeah, the professors go carefully through the application and the additional information you inform us about your financial background. And so they're quite careful when selecting the students for the scholarship. Okay, there are so many questions, so I will go in order. Okay. What about the essay? Can it be in English? It actually has to be in English. So our application documents all need to be in English because some of the professors who are reading the application and evaluating the application do not speak Japanese. So yes, all the documents have to be in English. The first essay is 300 words and the second essay is 400 to 500 words. So if you have any Japanese documents, of course you can read it, but you might get the question to ask you, for example, the Japanese teacher writes the recommendation letter in Japanese, if the Japanese teacher can write it in English as well. Because this is an international program, an English taught program at the Japanese university. Okay. Okay. Okay, so there's a question about the Japanese language education at Nagoya University. So yeah, it works like this. So we do not require anyone to speak Japanese when you come to the program and when you apply. So you can come without any Japanese. If you have learned some Japanese in school or you are a Japanese speaker at home, that is great, but it doesn't interfere with the application or admission at all. So the Japanese language ability does not connect to getting admitted or not. So what we do is when you come to Nagoya, there's a placement test. Even if you don't speak any Japanese, that's fine, you have to take it. But if you speak some Japanese, we will check how much Japanese you know. And then there are different levels of Japanese you can take at the university, from no Japanese to newspaper reading, for example. And the goal of the university, if you want to, you can take 4 years of Japanese for free of charge as part of the tuition fee. And if you take 4 years of Japanese, even if you started from the beginning with no knowledge, you might be able or should be able to get business level in the JLPT, so the Japanese language proficiency test. I hope this answers your question. So we have different level of Japanese and it's free of charge, part of the curriculum, but you have to take 12 foreign language credits in a language, which then would be Japanese for those who don't speak Japanese. Okay. The next question would be when our application run starts. So the application or admission requirements for the October 2023 intake is not up yet. It will be up in September. But since I'm working in the office, I already know the dates. So it will start November 11th. Easy to remember. 9 a.m. I think in the morning, which would be 8 for you. So yeah, we have 2 rounds. The first round, all programs are available, which is November to December, and there's a second round, which is early February. But the second round is only for certain programs, so you need to see if the programs you're applying for is available. Okay. Okay. And then another question about the Japanese language, if it's a priority for us. So the reason why Japanese university and the government decided to have international programs is that international students without Japanese can come to Japan and study. So for us, if you have, for example, taken language courses or a JLPT and you submit the document, it's for us as a extracurricular activity. So it is not part of your academics for us when we evaluate your application. So it is not a decision factor, it just shows us your interest, but we do not punish anyone who has not taken any Japanese before. So it is not part of our evaluation because it shouldn't, because you can learn Japanese once you are there. If you have already Japanese knowledge, that's more important for your daily life than for your academics. Okay, and there's one more question. You're really worried about your Japanese language ability. So if you can get admitted without Japanese language, yes, you can. And for those students who do not speak Japanese, we even pick you up from the airport and bring you to the university so you don't get lost. If that answers your question, thank you so much. So no Japanese. And you can see I'm not Japanese either, so I still have trouble speaking Japanese every day. Good, thank you so much for all the questions. And I think that I will just type my email address into the chat.
That would be perfect. Thank you. I will also, after they send their email, I will also be sending the interest form again in
Oh, I
case
see.
you want to give your contact. Oh, okay.
I send it to you. I will
Yeah,
just
I
type it in.
will. Yes, it's okay. I
Thank
got it. I
you.
can send it to everyone. No problem. Marianne's email.
So this is our office address.
Office. Admissions office?
Yes, but I'm also
Okay.
behind the admission office, so I can also see.
Okay. There you go. It's
Thank
in
you
the chat
so
for
much.
everyone to see. Yeah, no, thank you. I think also Julia is here to answer
Yes.
questions. So thank you for coming also and helping us answer. I'm sure I can speak for everyone when I say we learned a lot about Nagoya, and the
Thank you so
scholarship
much.
opportunities also look pretty solid. So yeah,
Yes.
we'll definitely be considering it. Thank you for coming,
Thank
and
you.
yeah, have a good week.
Bye.
Thank you.
You too. Have a good
Bye.
weekend.
To our attendees, since we finished a little early, I will be reopening the call at, wait, what's the Philippine time? 10? Yeah, at 10. The University of Calgary and California College of the Arts, I think, are gonna be with us. So yeah, I'll end the call first, but we'll be back. See you.